My name is Josh Miller. I own Riverstone Kennels, and I've been training gun dogs for more than 16 years. I have field trialed, I've hunt tested, but at the end of the day, I'm a duck hunter. You might find that the duck in our Duck Dogs podcast is spelled uniquely. The UK stands for my British Labs. I love my British Labs. I love what they offer me, both as a part of my family and the high motor in the field. As you're going to find, I have some pretty special dogs. Follow along in our podcast series here as we talk about both in the field hunting and in the field training situations that will hopefully help you progress with your dog at home. All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode here. We're sitting down as a group and hopefully have some fun conversation here. So I've got Miss Whitney.
Hello.
I have Zach from the kennel. I have Kyle from the kennel. What was fun about, so I know it's an excuse, and I keep using the same excuse, but our days have just, can you guys at least vouch for me that these days have been wild?
Yes, sir.
They get away from us quick.
Yeah. And, okay, so hopefully I have people vouch for me. It's not just me making an excuse. It's still an excuse, but I'm not improperly using it. And so it's been very difficult, but the weather is kind of turning. It makes me cry to even say this, but we're actually looking at another snowstorm tomorrow, which is so irritating.
I'm over it.
Gross.
Yeah, it's awful. It's awful. And so anyway, it pushed us to have some time here because we had appointments rescheduling and, stay away from the bad roads, not fight the snow, which is great, and then give us the opportunity to do this. So we have a bunch of stuff to catch up on because, unless I'm wrong, this is our first one since coming back from Texas.
Correct.
And Texas was fantastic. We definitely want to do more down there starting next year.
Yes.
And how we're going to do that, we don't know. There are a lot of different things we could or could not do. And so stay tuned. So that'll be good. But from Texas, so Whitney and I were having a debate that we need to finish here. Okay. And it's funny because these guys have no idea what we're going to talk about.
I know.
So the debate was, so first off, we started talking about I got to like Whataburger when we're down there. Right, naturally, they're everywhere. We had a lot of late nights, and it's one of the only places open late. I will not eat at McDonald's, and so that takes like half the options you off right there. Yep. And so I got to where I found specifically the sweet and spicy burger pretty solid. Whataburger, sweet and spicy, pretty solid. Like I was a fan. And so Whitney's comment was, I'm surprised that you like that because it's fast food. Mm-hmm. Right. And I was like, well, there's some fast food that I like. Like I like Chipotle. And Whitney's like, that's not fast food.
Chipotle's not fast food.
Culver's?
Okay, well, hold on though.
Sorry.
No. You're going the right direction, but like the question is like, what does fast food mean to you? Like when you hear fast food, what is a fast food restaurant? To me, like, okay, in your argument, Subway is not fast food.
No, it is a fast food.
But it's the same exact thing as Chipotle.
No, there's a drive-through. If there's a drive-through, it's instantly put into fast food category. For real.
Agree or disagree?
I think if you don't have a waiter at your table, it's fast food.
Totally agree. That was exactly my argument. If there is no waiter, it's fast food.
Yep, I agree.
I have been to a Chipotle with a drive-through, so
that would be considered fast food. Well, Kyle, I've never seen in my life, so then I'll put that into the other category.
On the other side, I don't want to make Whit mad, so she'll charge me with another project around the kennel.
It's true.
So I'm with you, Zach. If I don't have a waiter, it's fast food.
Yep.
And now I do understand. Now, we had some of this that was kind of interesting. This would be, I think, almost like an exception to my rule. But we had a couple places in Texas that, and I don't know if this is the norm, like being somewhere else for an extended period of time, you start to understand like what is norm somewhere else isn't always norm where you are, right? Mm-hmm. So like we had a couple places we ate at that had very good food, one of which was a brewery, if I remember right, where you walked up and you ordered at the bar and you took a number and you sat down, and now they did serve you your food. But to me, that's like a Culver's here is the same exact thing. Like that's certainly fast food to me. So but okay, I think it's a vibe thing. I think
agree.
I think when
I
you're
agree.
in fast food, you know you're in fast food.
Okay. I guess maybe I take the fast a little too literal. If you can go through a drive-through, that food is fast.
Yeah, but Chipotle, you can't get faster than Chipotle. You literally walk down the aisle, it's like bing, bing, bing.
pre-made. It's like it's like going to a buffet and then they're just making your plate for you.
I think there's different levels. Let's be honest.
That's why I wanted to finish this conversation here, because like it's so vague and so wild.
Like McDonald's is the fastest of fast food, right? You know it's not good for you. You know it's like got just all the stuff in it. Like you look at Five Guys though, never frozen beef. It's made fresh. Like
Yeah. They don't have a drive-through.
and it's $100 for one person to eat there.
That's true.
Yeah.
So,
It
but
is
like
expensive.
in my family used to own an A&W. So
Oh, yes.
so that was fast food. It's frozen
Yes.
burgers, but I'll take an A&W burger over almost anything else all day long because it's a little bit better quality in my opinion. So I think it's all fast food.
And 90% of the country's going, what the heck's an A&W?
Yeah.
It's a root beer stand.
Yeah, it's what it is.
It's actually so good.
I just thought that was such a funny topic. I was like, we're having this argument. I'm like, I can't believe we're actually arguing about this. So we didn't come to a conclusion, but I think we
I
can all
agree
agree
with
that.
Kyle. There's levels of it.
There's levels.
All right, there's levels. Okay, so there's a few.
Disagree.
Yeah. So what we generally do is when Whitney and I disagree, we compromise, and then we just do whatever Whitney wanted to do. So, okay, so I want to talk a little bit about coming back from Texas, and so this was Whitney's first time ever living anywhere but here for any period of time. It was my first time. Well, I travel so much, so it's a little harder to say that. But you really do start to see norms outside of like what we take for granted. And one thing that I will say I appreciated so much about down in Texas is that, one, we had so many people ask us about the trailer. And then they want to talk dogs and they want to talk hunting and they're like, I mean, all the time. And so that was cool. Like, not that we don't get that here, but it's very uncommon. And there was like, you couldn't pull that trailer anywhere that someone didn't stop and talk to you about it. And they want to tell you about their dogs, whether they're hog dogs, a lot of hog dogs down there.
Yeah.
Hog dogs, or we got bird dogs, or whatever. And so it was kind of cool from a culture standpoint that way. The one thing that has disappointed me so much since coming back home that I didn't realize as much. So I am a stickler with this with our kids. You will say please and thank you. You will say yes sir, yes ma'am, and you will hold the door open for other people. Down there, everybody acknowledged the kids. Thank you, you're so polite. Like, made sure that they knew that they were doing a good job. When I came back here, I held the door open. I did an actual test. I held the door open for 16 different people before one person thanked me.
That's so rude.
That's sad.
It's really sad.
Okay, that's sad. And so the reason I bring this up is there was actually something in with March Madness going on right now. There was something going on with I can't remember which team it was, but the team lost, I believe. And they're doing, they have their press conferences afterwards where the coach and all the players sit down and they ask questions and all that stuff. And the kids got up, and there was one kid in particular that he pushed everybody's chair in for him and then walked off. Okay. And I can't remember if it was Bleacher Report or ESPN or somebody posted this and said something like, what a kid or something like that, like something basic. The number of people that commented and said something like, oh, we're just going to celebrate, normal things now. I'm sorry, that's not normal.
Oh my gosh.
Like, that is not normal anymore. If you think that's normal, you're probably in your own bubble, and it's normal to you. It's normal to all of us in this room, right? Probably normal to a lot of people listening to this show. But it is not normal. It is not normal as a whole. It's not normal as a society. It's not normal. You look at try the door thing. Try holding the door and just see, if you hold the door open for 10 different people, how many people thank you for it.
Yeah.
I think it'll shock you. Now, I think it could shock you the other way, of course, and that'll make you feel really good about it. And where you live certainly plays a factor into this.
Yes, it does.
But I think it's an interesting test.
Yeah.
Like, how many people actually thank you for that? And so where I'm going with this whole thing is, it doesn't take anything to be polite. It doesn't take anything to be grateful. That's a mindset. That's a internal belief system, and I would encourage anyone just to reflect on that for themselves, because, like I tell my kids, so Colt especially, with my son, he's in this why phase. Asks why we do things, why something is made this way, is in this, and so he always asks me, he goes, Dad, why do I have to say, yes, sir? Like, none of my friends do, nobody else I know does. And I tell him every time, I say, Colt, you are going to get more opportunities in life, and you will get more respect from people that are older from you because you do this.
Yep.
You will stand out because of this, right? It's a simple thing. But I would just encourage anyone to look and reflect on that. Now, to take this a step further, okay? So, staying on the basketball theme, okay? NCAA has been a big deal in our house. So, the women's tournament. Did you guys see the Maryland coach thing?
I did not.
No.
No.
Okay. So, women's Maryland team, they have what I believe, I can't say that I'm a Maryland women's basketball aficionado. Okay, so like I may be wrong on some of these initial details, but I believe it's one of their younger kind of all-star level player. Okay, and she came off the court and I guess was doing really poor, and the coach got in her face, like,
Oh, I did.
okay,
I did hear about this.
aggressive, pointing to her right in her face. And I believe, I don't know this, right, but like from watching the coach's words, what I believe she said was something to the effect of, I believe in you, but you have to believe in you more than I believe in you, right? And so social media, being social media, wants to blow it up into this, how can she treat her that way, and she's so disrespectful, and she embarrassed her in front of her team and in front of the audience and all these things. And this kid came out, and what she talked about is like, I want to be coached hard. That's how I operate. Like, I want someone to hold me accountable. And the way that she talked about that it was so mature, and it was so, to me, it was very refreshing. But I also believe that no great athlete in any arena, Kyle, you can talk about this with wrestling too. I'm sure you're going to agree with this. Nobody that's ever been great doesn't want to be coached hard.
For sure.
Not one. Like, not one person I have ever been around that is great in whatever they do wants to be just patted on the back and told they're great and given a hug and, oh, you'll do better next time. Because that doesn't elevate you to the level of greatness. You can be good and be there, but to truly be great, like, you have to have someone that's going to hold you accountable, that's going to push you further than you're going to push yourself, and be there to tell you when you're falling short. That girl came back and had a fantastic rest of the game from what I looked at. And she talked about that she needed that in that moment, is just that reality check to come back. I like, and I'll kind of open this up, but like it kind of fires me up, because I believe that's why we have so much mediocrity anymore, is because no one is willing to step up and push. Nobody's willing to take someone and say, look, like, I'm going to push you further than you're going to want to push yourself. And it's going to suck, and I'm going to get on your ass, and there's my explicit. Now all of a sudden this podcast can be explicit again because I said one word. But nobody wants that, and as a result, we're getting softer kids. Yep. I think that's fair to say, right?
Yeah.
We're getting less excellent, specifically out of those kids, right? And to me, everyone's always looking for the easy button. Everybody's looking for the easy way. There is no easy button in life, right? Yeah, some people are going to get fortunate and have something go their way, and it's going to look easy, but I promise you, behind the scenes, it's not all easy. Like, it just bothers me so much that from a social media standpoint, like, you just look at all these people that are just like all at this coach. I'm like, what do you think her job is? Yeah. To just be there and smile and take credit when things go right, and get fired when things go wrong? Like that's what I want. Like, every time I went to another level, I was hoping that the coach that I would have would be better than the one that I had before, that would push me and get more out of me. Otherwise, what's the point?
Right.
So,
I mean, I see it quite a bit.
You coach.
I coach all levels of wrestling. So, I mean, I've got 3rd through 5th graders all the way up through high school kids. And you're right. The ones that want to be great want to be pushed. And I'm a nice enough guy, but I don't sugarcoat much of anything in the wrestling room. Like, I have to be hard on those kids. It's a hard sport. Wrestling especially it's a daunting sport. I don't know why any of us do it. It's grueling. Practices aren't exactly fun. You know, it's one of the hardest sports out there, and it's mentally hard. And I always say your mind will give up before your body does. You know, these kids, they've got to be toughened up a little bit. If they don't have it in their head that they can be great, and that somebody's not pushing them to that level, they're never going to get there. You know, that mind's going to fail in that third period or the last minute of that match. So, you know, I have to be a little bit of a disciplinarian, or a, you know, get in your face and tell you, yeah, it's not all rainbows and sunshine, right? You know, we got to push them a little bit. So I see it a lot. I will say I have two different levels. You have the kids that aren't being pushed, and, you know, they sit on a screen all day, and you know, they will fold when you push them. But there are a certain segment of the kids that work so much harder than we did back in the day. I mean, I'm 47 years old. I didn't have out-of-season wrestling. I have kids that wrestle year-round now, and they're putting the time in. They're going to my practice, and then they're going to the club practice afterwards. Those kids that are getting after it, they have a level of discipline and a level of kind of obedience to the sport and obedience to their coaches that is different than what mine was. I mean, I didn't have those opportunities back then. Now kids do. And I see a lot of kids, whether it's, you know, we've got a mutual friend that has a baseball club. You know, I see those kids, they're in there all off season. They're at 4 days, you know, or four times a week, and they're working on their craft a lot. So I think there's no in between anymore. There's either, hey, you know, you don't have the kind of the mindset for it, or you've bought all in and you're there, and you're gonna put every effort you got into it. So
Yeah, so I totally agree. And what's funny to me, so I look back on, so when I was in college, so if you guys look up Coach J, we call him, but Coach Steve Johnson, he was NCAA Football Coach of the Year. And at the time, I was at school playing baseball, and they wanted me to play football, right? So most of my roommates were on my floor, were all football guys. So I went in and sat down with Coach J, and I remember him at the first question he ever asked me was, "Are you a great wide receiver?" And naturally, just kind of trying to be humble, you're like, you know, I mean, yeah, I think I can be, you know, could be better. He's like, "That's not what I asked you. Like, are you a great wide receiver?" And I was like, you know, and just kind of like, I don't know this guy, right? And he asked me a third time. He's like, "Are you great?" And I stopped and I looked at him like, "Yeah, I am." And he's like, "Okay." And so I later asked him, and not at the time, I later asked him, I said, "Why were you so adamant about that question?" And what he told me is like, he said, word for word, he said, "I needed to know that you believed in you before I was going to believe in you." Like, so from not only a coach standpoint, but like from a kid standpoint, or from an athlete standpoint in this case, like you have to have that self-worth and self-belief. But I also believe, Kyle, is what you're talking about, that instills that early on. I think parenting is a huge part of that. Support system is a huge part of that. But you know, think about the people that are in your life that aren't directly those people that are influential and push you. Like for me, you know, mainly athletics for me, but like I can go down the list and tell you person to person of who made that impact in my life, right? Like Zach, from a military standpoint, right? Was there anybody that was at an elite level or great at what they did that didn't want to be pushed? Now, it might be a little different in the military, but yeah, I love your thought on it.
No, I totally agree with that. I think that you get pushed hard because you're always trying to create the chaos or the adversity. So when it happens in real world, when it's life or death, you've already been pushed to that level. Because we would do, they call them FMPs, or full mission profiles, helicopters, explosives, live rounds, the full thing. So whenever we would do those, it would be hard, it would be realistic, it would be, you know, harder than anything I'd done in real life. But you had experience in that, being pushed to that level, and there was never any sugarcoating at the end, like, you know, geez, Zach, you just really set that breach perfect. You couldn't have been any faster. Everything was great. Like, I never got many compliments like that. It was like, well, if you would have set the charge on your right side rather than your left, you could have shaved a half a second off this time, you know. And so you're elevated at these super high levels, so that whenever it comes time for the real mission or the real test, you've already been elevated to that level. So I think being pushed constantly like that in the military, there was no good jobs, attaboys. So Now, like me transitioning out of the Army, if I'm not getting, like me and you and Whitney sit down and do periodic check-ins, like, hey, this is what we're doing good, this is what we're doing bad. But like a lot of times I need to be pushed, like, hey, you can do a better job here, you can do a better job there. Otherwise, I start self-selecting, like, man, where am I slack? And I start picking out things, being harder on myself, and I think that's just a personality trait. But through the repetition military, like I'm always trying to get better, trying to find ways to push myself. So it's good to have that hard feedback.
Yeah. I mean, to me, it's when excellence becomes a standard.
Yeah.
That's when you stop getting like all these little compliments. Like, again, from a high performer, I think a high performer excels more at tell me what I'm doing wrong so I can go get better at that, versus if everything is just, hey, good job, hey, you're great, hey, pat on the back, hey, like I'm not saying there's not a time and place, for some of that, but if that's all that it is, I mean, you're never going to push to the next level. Two kids that used to work for us, Joey Kidder and Jacob Parent. Jacob right now is training for the Olympics as a runner.
Yeah.
I don't know which event. Joey he was like the athlete in our town school. He went to be a football and basketball player in college. Last I heard, he had a tryout with the Chicago Bears and maybe somebody else. The reason he didn't do it, you laugh at this, Kyle, the reason he didn't do it is because they wanted him to move to tight end because it wasn't fast enough to be a receiver. And he's like, I don't think I want to be a tight end. But anyway, all of them, so Joey and Jacob and I, we literally had this conversation, what this been, 6 years ago? Okay? And when we're talking about this, I remember, I will never forget Joey saying this, and that's what kind of comes back to this. Joey said, like I do not want a coach that's just going to pat me on the back. Like I want to be coached hard. And I've heard that just so often from high performers. And so, one, I think this is worth talking about from, Winnie, did you have anything to add here? I'm sorry. I didn't mean to move on.
You guys go. You're good.
Okay. So
I'll just stay sitting in the corner.
I think this is important just from almost like a societal standpoint of like this is not a bad thing.
Yeah.
It is not a bad thing to push. It is not a bad thing to ask more of someone, to get more out of them, to tell them where they're failing or where they're falling short. Like that's not a bad thing. Like we're just so soft, But so take this another step, okay? So from a dog standpoint, transition this to the dog, okay? The number of people that think that they are going to get to an elite level without any sort of, I don't want to scold them, I don't want to use the collar, I don't want to use, like, guys, like, negative reinforcement is not a bad thing. Now, of course, that can be taken too far, just like it can with coaching or parenting or anything else, right? But what I'm saying is, like, you need to tell the dog when it's going wrong. If you want to be at an elite level, you need to be able to be clear on what was wrong, when was wrong, so the dog can go correct it. Because the dogs, especially high performers, I believe this wholeheartedly with dogs, you have dogs that are just never meant to be that elite level dog. It's not who they are, not what they're built to be, just like people, just like athletes, right? But you have those dogs that are that elite level performer. That dog, quite frankly, wants to be told when it was wrong because they want to do it right oftentimes so bad that if they're not told what they're doing wrong, they're just going to do it wronger, harder because they don't understand it.
Yep.
So to be able to tell them this is what was wrong. We just had a phone call the other day. Zach, I don't know if you're listening to this one or not, but it was a lady that called in, very nice. We had a good conversation, but she had talked about. She goes, "Well, do you use negative reinforcement?" And I was like, "Well, what do you mean by that?" And she's like, "Well, I don't want to work with a trainer that uses negative reinforcement." So I said, first off, okay, I think we should define negative reinforcement and positive punishment are two very different things, right? So negative reinforcement would be taking something away from a situation, right? Positive punishment would be bringing something into that correction. And so negative reinforcement has this negative, naturally because the word is in it, and this negative perception of like, my dog's getting beaten, my dog's being heavy-handed, that's not what it is. At least not in the way that we're talking about it.
Yep.
Okay? Now, when you really look at like the conversation with this lady. So there's no way for us to teach your dog anything that you're going to be happy with what she's wanting if it's just treats and happy and sunshine and roses and like it just can't happen. And now, again, just to be very clear, I'm not saying go overboard and you're taking a buggy whip and you're smacking the dog over the head with it. Like, I'm not saying that, but I'm saying that there's a way to communicate with your dog to tell them when it's right and when it's wrong. And dogs that are high performers and owners that are wanting a dog to do people perform at a high level, you need to do it. There's no way around it. Like, you are going to do it. I don't know anyone that is able to have a dog at an elite level using treats and never telling the dog when it's wrong.
For sure.
Okay. Now, I'm not saying you have to use a collar, because you can look at all my dogs, haven't had it. Okay. So, like, I'm not saying that. We know a lot of people that have gotten it. Takes more repetition, quite frankly. Oftentimes I think the dogs are better because it takes more time and more repetition, more. Now, I'm not saying, like, we have a lot of great dogs that we've used collar on and it's great, but like different philosophies, different, so we've done it both ways. I'm not saying you need to use specific tools. I'm not saying you can't use specific tools. What I'm saying is you are not going to get through this without holding yourself to a high standard, which means holding your dog to a high standard and being consistent with that. Okay. You go back to that Maryland coach. You think that coach is that intense in the game, but in practices, it's all like, oh, girls, I'm going to give you a hug when you make a basket. And like, I bet you she's harder on them in practice.
For sure.
Right? Like, you have to understand where the line is so that you know when you cross it. Right?
Yeah.
So you have to be consistent as this coach. And I just don't believe that you're ever going to get there thinking that everything is going to be sunshine and roses. Whitney, do we talk about, so first off, anything with that?
Yeah, I think it's all about the communication, because, like, from a leadership standpoint, you're not going to communicate with the college-age chore girls the same level you're going to communicate to me.
That's
and
right.
I think that goes to the same way with the dogs. Like, not saying you're harder on one dog than the other, but you just have to use a different way to go about it. And I think that's clear across the board with people, with dogs, the whole thing. Like, you have to set the line and you have to be hard on them as far as, like, holding the standard. You just have to communicate that on different levels.
Mm-hmm. I was going to say the same thing. I think the leader has to understand who they're leading, whether it's a person or a dog. I always go back to Extreme Ownership on when he's talking about how they changed the leader. Like, there was one boat that was far, far behind, and they could never catch up.
Yep.
And they swapped the leaders, and that boat that was behind forever ended up winning at the end because they had a different leader, and he knew how to lead that boat. The other person didn't know how to lead the people in that boat.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's go to that, because I think that's a awesome ripple in this conversation, because I think this is so important. Being a good leader is not only being, having a high standard, holding to that standard, but you need to change the way that you're leading per the follower. Okay?
For sure.
And I'm talking about this in a coaching sense. Okay, so for example, you take a high school coach, okay, that doesn't get to recruit, he doesn't get to pick his team, the best high school coaches in any sport change every year to fit what is my talent group for this year. Maybe different in wrestling, but maybe not. I don't know anything about wrestling, but
it's yes and no. We're pretty hard lined on this is what needs to be done, but just like dogs, every kid has a different personality. Some can take the tough, and some need to go. You can be hard on them. Hey, this is what you did wrong. You need to get your head in the game, and then at the end, you've got to, almost. I know not hugs and whatever, but like, hey, you did a good job here. I always try and finish my kind of like disciplinary talks, or hey, this is what we did wrong with, but you did this correct. I always try and end on a good note, kind of like when we're training dogs. Like, we might be having a bad session with the dog, but like, hey, that one was pretty good. Let's just end there, right? So when I'm coaching somebody, that's kind of where I get to. I want to be hard on them. They have to know what they don't know, right? So you get after them, and then you go, but that was excellent. Let's keep doing that.
So for me, my analogy, the example from an athletic standpoint is in high school football. So I think it was my sophomore year to my junior year we got a new coach. And so my sophomore year, we had me and one other receiver that was a year older than me, which, and I don't know exactly where we were, but the two of us were both either top 10 or top 15 in the state as far as receivers go. We had the number one tight end who was a junior. Okay, so now these guys are seniors. I'm junior. We get a new coach. That coach comes in. So, and we had a quarterback that could throw. Okay, so we have two of the best receivers we could ask for, the best tight end we could ask for, a quarterback that could do it. And he comes in and he says, I'm an option quarterback. We're running the ball. We won 2 games that year.
Miserable.
Because we had such a great athlete, like from an athlete standpoint, we had a great team. We couldn't do anything with it because like our talents were not what was being utilized, right? So, we pulled the other receiver that was a senior. We made him play quarterback. He's not a quarterback. We made him play quarterback because we just needed an athlete running the ball. We didn't have great running backs. We're trying to force this thing because this coach is coming in saying, I'm an option quarterback. I'm an option. Well, he was an option quarterback in college, but I'm an option coach. We are running the option. Not what is my talent pool and what do I do to get the most out of these guys? And I do believe that a lot of times when people fall short with their dog, it's that type of an approach. Right. This is what I do with my last dog. This dog is not your last dog. Yep. It could be out of the same lines. It could be the same color, size, line. Like it's not the same dog. Yeah. So to just come in and be like, I'm going to do this exactly the same as I did my last one. I'm going to do exactly the same. Like it's not going to work out. Not all the time. It's not going to be. You have to, as the coach, you have to come in and say, who is this dog? How does he or she best operate? What does he or she need from me? And then how do I get the most out of them? And that is going to change potentially day to day, week to week, not only dog to dog. And so you have to be able to grow and you have to be able to recognize these things to get the most out of them.
I was just going to say, he was probably afraid to get out of his own lane. That's what he knew.
Mm-hmm. That's right. That's right. Sure.
So if he maybe would have ventured out and went, you know what, I don't have to be an option coach. We can play the run and gun. We can throw the ball. But maybe he was uncomfortable with that. So that's his limitation.
For sure. Right? Which I think from a dog owner standpoint is the same exact thing.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Us as dog owners and you guys as trainers, I'm just kind of like, the kennel lackey for a few hours a day. But you don't know what you don't know, and if you don't try and learn, if you don't take the initiative to learn something different, you're not going to get the result, right? Mm-hmm. So you might go, hey, I've never trained like that, but I'm going to do my research. I'm going to do this and get the outcome that I'm looking for, but I don't know what I don't know, so I'm going to go learn it, right?
Mm-hmm. So yeah.
And I got a perfect example for that because I'm raising Easy and Ice. So these are Ben Commodore's dogs. They're going up to Canada with us. They live with me since they were 7 weeks old.
Shout out Ben Commodore, Cloud9 Outfitters.
Shout out Ben Commodore.
Yeah.
So both his boys. So it's a Brock Ember puppies. They are everything we want them to be. They're big motors, love to go do it.
Litter mates.
Mm-hmm. And they could not be more different. And so you talk about litters, and Josh, we saw a dog in Texas that was like this that we saw in the past, and her sister is completely different. But, excuse me, but these dogs are farthest from apart. They were raised in the same household. Mm-hmm. They had the same crate time. They got let out separate and everything too, but also they went everywhere I did. They go to work with me. They were exposed to the same situations. Everything was the same. Mm-hmm. And they are so different. And it's funny because now we're at a level where, we finished a train retrieve, we're finished with obedience, and both of those things had to go completely different for both dogs. Mm-hmm. And just that's where, if I communicated with Ice the way I communicate with Easy, Ice would not be as good as Easy. Mm-hmm.
That's
or
exactly
vice
right.
versa.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly
so
right.
So I've certainly had to flex the way the training program has worked with those guys, just from maturity standpoint, personality standpoint, who's going to push, who's not going to push. And it's the same thing with people from a leadership standpoint. It's everything we're talking about.
That's right. Well, there's not a better example that we have in front of us. It's like litter mates, literally same environment growing up, do everything exactly the same, and they're two very different dogs. Mm-hmm. And now you take what I believe is even the bigger factor of the whole thing. Now you split that litter up into 8 different homes. Mm-hmm. Now those environments that they are getting imprinted on are 8 different environments, 8 different, not only people, but groups of people, 8 different opportunities, 8 different, the thought that these dogs are all going to be the same That's crazy, right? We might have talked about this, Whitney, so stop me if I get too deep on this, and we did. Fun fact, I've never listened to one of our podcasts, ever. Like when I press end record, I never listen to it again.
Yeah, we can tell.
So, so if I'm repetitive. But one thing that keeps coming up is, to me, and this is just a thought that I continue to have, like, whoever said that this was supposed to be easy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, this is not easy. Nothing about this is easy. You're taking an animal that you don't speak the same language as, that, quite frankly, most 99.9% of us don't have the time for. Like, if we're really being honest, between work and the kids and the hobbies and, like,
Life.
don't, like, as far as to truly dedicate, to truly work, this dog up, like, don't have or choose not to spend the time. Either way. You look at all the factors, like, a daily factor that's out of your control that can happen, and that you have to be able to like, there's nothing easy about this. And so, like, the panic of thought of, like, oh my gosh, this happened, what am I gonna do? Like and acting like this shouldn't have happened. Like, well, why shouldn't it have happened? Right? Like, just like, there's too many things to me that come up of, like, that if you go into this thinking, yeah, this is easy, everybody does this, especially if you want to get to a high level, like, you're already behind.
Good luck.
For sure.
That's right. Now, I also believe on the flip side, when you humbly go into it and go, look, I know it's going to be difficult. I know this is going to take a lot, and I want to commit to myself to get better and to educate myself and spend the time. And, like, when you go into it knowing that, then when that speed bump happens, you embrace it, not mental breakdown, right? Or emotional breakdown. We've seen plenty of both. So, to me, that's a big factor of this. Like, this isn't supposed to be easy. But then again, what in life that is worth doing is?
Yeah.
Not much.
I mean, like, I can't think of anything. Like, what in life is worth doing that is easy, that is not difficult, that doesn't involve risk?
Yeah.
Right?
That's
Like,
true.
Whitney and I were just talking about, this today. Like, the reality is, like I want to start. I don't need to add more things to my plate. I get that.
Amen.
I get that. But a big part of me wants to, every single person that gets a puppy from us, I want to be able to have a call or a meeting or something with. And basically the gist of that is, there is no guarantee here. Right? Because what happens is people get down the road and it's like, oh my gosh, this puppy has more motor than what I was expecting. Oh my gosh, this puppy isn't doing this where I wanted to. I was forcing a pile and didn't, you are a big part of this. Right? Like I do not want a phone call, from you 2-3 years from now being like, oh, like, this dog didn't work out. Like, guess what? Your kid may not have worked out.
Right.
Like, reality, right?
Yeah.
I'm not being rude. I'm just trying to be blunt. Of, like, there are so many things that we are, and every time an animal, we see this all, like, take the dogs out of it. Every time we buy a horse, it is a gamble. Every time we buy a calf, it is a gamble. Every time Whitney buys a chicken, it is
Every time Josh buys a donkey, it's a gamble.
I bought them for you.
You still bought them.
Yeah, and guess what? One of the two of them is a loud, obnoxious son of a gun.
I love Josh
Like-
so much.
like-
Every time he walks outside in the morning,
yeah.
he, like, just bellers.
Yeah,
Like,
wide open mouth, tongue flopping around. But, like, my gamble, the one that doesn't do that, I love him. The other one, like, I want to smack him over the head every time I go outside.
there's no guarantee.
In animals especially, there's never, ever going to be a guarantee.
Right.
You can do everything right, something can still go wrong. Okay?
For sure.
Specifically, we see that with the calves all the time.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you could give them the best feed and the best food and fresh, like, clean water and the best care, and all of a sudden one's trying to die. And then you give them the best vet care, and you weigh down them hand and foot, you do this, and they die.
Yeah.
And,
And, there's no reason for it. No one, you can't pinpoint. Like, shit just happens.
That's right.
And
See,
that's
there's
what
my
you-
explicit.
Yep.
Way to go, Whitney. Way to
You
go.
already broke the seal,
Now
so I
we're
figured. But-
explicit.
But there's just so many variables, and a lot of times it's variables that you don't even realize are out there.
That's right. Yeah.
But in the same hand, my argument would be there is a lot of things that you can control.
That's right.
For sure.
I think, like, I really see this with the puppy development side, like, as far as me raising a lot of these dogs for other people or for dogs later that we'll sell, like, there's so many things that I can control. I can control them not playing keep away because I don't give them the opportunity. I can control them not eating socks because I don't leave socks laying around. I can, name the experience, right?
You said that was somebody this week during puppy pickups. If somebody asked, if this happens, how do I get out? And the way you said it was great. Was the best way to break a bad habit is to never let it start in the first place.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah, 1,000%. And I'm not saying I'm always trying to evolve and get better at this stuff, but I really do believe that. Like, you're never going to have keep away issues if you never let them play keep away, or whatever the situation is. And so trying to control what you can control, picking the right breeder, picking the right pairing.
Which is huge.
Yep.
Huge. We are dealing with
Yes.
a couple dogs right now that they're not from us. I'd like to make that. Whitney was scowling at me like, where are you going with this? It is a major. Okay, Zach, Kyle, who are from a puppy side, when you work with a puppy that is not bred well, can you notice?
And
for sure.
A second.
Yep.
Yeah.
1 second.
And a lot of it's, nature and nurture. Some of those dogs aren't maybe bred properly, but I can tell, a small example from my short time helping you guys is my job is to go put a collar and a lead on bird and gun dogs. And I can tell the ones that have had some guardrails in their life and have had a collar on, have been led on a lead. Some of them are just kind of dialed in. I can open up their kennel. They're not trying to escape. They're not trying to jump on me. And some of them are like I'm trying to take their life away. I can't even get the collar on them. They're just so wild and they're pulling and they're this and they're that. And, a lot of that's nature, but a lot of that's nurture too. So, putting those guardrails, don't let that dog have the opportunity to make a bad choice, to get the socks or whatever. And you can tell the dogs that have been instilled some discipline in their life before they even come to us at 6, 7, 8 months old, whatever. And it makes our job significantly easier because those dogs know that there's rules around the game, and some don't, they figure it out after a couple of days on the lead that they don't get to run and get to do those things. But some of them are just naturally that way, and it's because of how they were brought up and how they were bred.
Right.
Well, I think from a development side, like the puppy stuff that I'm doing, so I was on the phone with someone the other day just kind of talking through how I raise the puppies and what my goals are. And it came to my mind is like a lot of people are looking to raise the best 5-month-old dog in the country. And I'm looking to raise the best 5-year-old dog in the country. And I think there's different levels to it. Like, you're either too rushed or let them get away with too much. Like, there definitely is a balance in there, and I'm not saying it's some scientific method and you have to do this at this age, but there are certain things like just let them be a puppy and run and have fun and do all these things, as opposed to like, hey, I want this dog sitting steady on a place board at 12 weeks old. I want them, like, we get asked all the time, what's a prerequisite for X course? What's a prerequisite for bird and gun intro? And my answer is always like, happy, confident puppy. Like, that's all we need to start with. Like, you don't want one in a shell. You don't want one that, even is walking at heel, because now they're going to be nervous about leaving heel to go chase the bird, or whatever it is. And so I think when you're looking at puppies or young athletes or whatever it is, like, you're trying to develop them to be the best they can be in 3 seasons or 2 seasons or whatever it is. So I really love that side of it, and it's hard to put into words about the things you need to do or the things you don't need to do, but trying to build them up and think about the long game rather than the current situation you're in.
I think, let me just
No, that's great.
I think that people see their puppies' physical growth and they grow at such a fast rate, they do not mentally grow that fast. And we forget that even when they're only 2 years old and you're expecting them to do so much. How many times we've just talked about how we see this mental jump in these dogs that from like age 2 to 3.
Yeah.
But we expect
that's been
them
consistent.
We expect them. We expect them for their mental growth to be the same as their physical growth when they're puppies. And you got to take a step back and be like, oh yeah, you're just this young.
Yeah.
People pick up at 7 weeks. And I'm like, here's the deal. 5 weeks ago, these puppies were still blind and deaf. Their eyes hadn't even, their eyes and their
Think
ears
about that.
hadn't even
That's
opened
crazy.
yet. And now you're asking me, oh, what can I expect from my puppy? Like, I'll tell you what you can expect from a puppy. You know, like, simple. Like, think about how slow they're actually mentally maturing.
Yeah, you can expect that they can eat and they can poop and they can pee and that's I mean, outside of that.
Yeah.
So a couple things off that. So I think it's such a valuable conversation, especially if there's somebody that's going into this, maybe like searching for their dog or their first dog or next dog or early in the stages, because what ends up happening, especially because there's a lot of breeders out there that are breeding very intelligent dogs, right? Especially the good ones are doing a good job. And what happens is you get one of these puppies and they move through these first things very fast. Elementary, right? Treat training, sit, come, place, kennel, like little things, right? You go, oh my gosh, like flying through at 12 weeks old, he can do all this stuff. Right. Well, now what? Well, now immediately you want to go from there. You just want to start doing steadied marks. And now we're going to start, getting on the table and going through train to tree. And it's like, whoa. Like, we're not going that fast, And, again, and I know I do a lot of sports analogies, but like think about if you played sports in any capacity, how many times, and we'll take something mid-range. We won't go all back to T-ball. Think about how many times in 5th or 6th grade that the best player on that 5th or 6th grade team was even on the team as a senior in high school, let alone still the best player.
For sure.
It's very rare.
Yeah.
And because of developing, right? You have to, different opportunities, right? I mean, there are just some parents that don't get their kids into sports right away, or maybe a kid doesn't have an interest in a sport until a certain time, or maybe there's a growth spurt or maturity or physical. Like there's so many things that happen that all of a sudden, I'll come 18 years old. That squad is going to look so different than when you guys were 12, right? Or when you guys were younger than that even. And so, but that's what we're doing. Like we're asking our 3rd grader to go play on a varsity team when you push too fast. And then that's when the frustration happens as a coach, right? Well, it's because your player isn't ready to play there yet, right? You have to be able to go at their pace. And so I think that's one. 2, I want to hit on that 2 to 3 year old thing. This has been something that over the years we've consistently seen, and this isn't necessarily just with our dogs, right? This is across the board from dog. We don't just train dogs from us; we train dogs from all over the place. Which I want to talk about that in a second from that bird and gun situation that we're going through. But one of the things we have consistently seen is from dogs at 2 to 3 years old, there tends to be a maturity jump. And the reason that we say this and why it's so mind-boggling to me is oftentimes if you let's think about somebody that goes through all the training. Okay, so the bird and gun intro, then the intermediate level training, and then the advanced level training. Generally speaking, what most people do now, there is a time of year factor to this, right? But most people will just say that first summer, they're going through bird and gun intro, and then they take them home. And then the next summer, now they're going through intermediate. Okay, so now the dog's 1 year old. Okay, so 6 months old for the first one, now a year and a half old. Next summer, advanced handling. Now for us, we would much rather go through and clip everything, just keep it going right in a row, because there's less bad habits, less steps back, less, there's a lot. But I'm just saying, generally speaking, that is what we see. Nobody wants to be away from their dog for a long period of time. I get it, but that's what we see. Excuse me. And there are issues that come from that, right? Naturally. But when we see dogs that older, like year after year, okay, and we're seeing this with Texas. People are sending their dogs down with us to Texas to get, trained in the winter. Otherwise, especially up north, what are you doing in the winter?
Nothing.
Likely nothing, right? Sitting in the house, trying to stay warm, right? Probably not going to do something with a dog. Meanwhile, we're in 75 degrees and we're running, water work and we're doing it's fantastic.
Loving life.
So now we see the flip side of it in the summer. A lot of our Texas clients will send the dogs up in the summer because 110 degrees down there. What are you doing with a dog? Probably nothing, right? Same reason. So we get the best of both worlds. But what I'm saying with this thing is now we're seeing more dogs year after year as they continue to be older. Duchess is the one that jumps out to me from this year. Duchess was a shell of herself. I'm sorry, reverse that. she was she was a shell of herself. Who she is today she was a shell of herself a year ago. A year ago, she would come out and she'd like almost like belly crawl because she was so submissive and she's so like everything had to be soft and encouraging and like you just had like just who she was, right? This year, this dog just blossomed. Like this dog is confident and she's powerful and she's wanting to go and she's hard charging and she's a different dog.
Yeah.
2 to 3. And so the reason I bring that up is, okay, so from a development standpoint, if we use the whole human years thing, okay, 7 years old, right? Would you expect that you peak as an athlete at 7 years old?
No.
Okay, that's a 1-year-old dog, right? Now, the science might have changed with this. 7 years old is what I always heard, right?
That's what I always heard too.
2 years, okay. Would you expect that you peak as an athlete at 14 years old? No. Right? Now, 21, 28, okay. Okay. 35, still pretty dang athletic if you ask me. So what I'm saying is when you look at that, why, again, and I've said this a lot on this show, we humanize things until it's inconvenient for us to humanize them. So we humanize a lot with our dog. Just think of something that you did with your dog in the last 24 hours that humanize it, right? I can think of a lot. But then you start looking at, why do we think a 1-year-old dog should be a finished product? Why do we think a 2-year-old dog should be a finished product? I mean, you really start thinking about it that way.
That's such a good point.
It's a completely different way of thinking about this from a perspective standpoint. Now, if you come in with that perspective, your dog is going to be way better off. You're going to give forgiveness where forgiveness is due. You're going to give leniency where leniency is due. You're going to hold to a high standard when that is where it should be.
Yep.
You have to be led to separate that.
Yeah, I think my dog's a prime example of that. I mean, we've taken our
Which
time
one?
with
Pip?
Pip.
Yeah, for sure.
We've taken our time with Pip, and she had a litter in there, and we'll go through and finish advanced training this summer. But you can both vouch. You've trained her. At a year old, she'd come up to you and lay on her back and want her belly rubbed, and she's super submissive and super sweet and kind and soft. But I mean, we've trained her a couple times this week, and she hops out of the crate and she's like,
different dog.
I'm gonna go get it.
That's
right. She right at heel and she's on her toes and she's ready. She knows the job, and there's no belly rubs needed anymore. She's well, she still gets, but she's I humanize my dog. But she's a different dog, and she'll turn 3. I think May. She was a May litter, I think. So she'll be 3 in May, and that's. I mean, I've seen a difference in her just around the house, even. She's becoming that mature dog, and really kind of her obedience is dialed in better than it ever has been, and they just kind of click in that 2 to 3 range where they really kind of get it.
There's something about it for sure.
It's Ronnie or Delmar that say, I forget. If you treat a dog like a human, they're still going to treat you like a dog. Something to that.
Delmar.
That's for sure something Delmar would say.
I think it was basically meaning like you humanize them, but they're still going to treat you like you're a dog.
Yeah. He was always really good about that, of like the way that he would word things to make you think, well, yeah, that's dumb.
Yeah.
But he would do it, and he'd make you realize that, so that you stopped doing what it was you were doing, right? There was, I may have even told this story before, but there was one time at Pheasant Fest that he was giving a seminar, and this lady was asking about, it was something about how to praise the dog, right? And basically he was I know I've told you this story, but he was trying to get her to not, especially because the dog just, it seemed a little soft, like the dog was in the crowd. I watched the dog too, and the dog was just nervous, and he was talking about basically like petting it under the chin to kind of lift the head up and make the dog naturally just feel a little more confident, right? So it's the same thing. Like if you're sitting in your car, sitting in your lawnmower, whatever, just close your eyes and do it. If you close your eyes and bring your head and hunch forward, naturally you don't feel as good. All of a sudden you lift up, you get posture, and you lift your head up, you feel way better instantly.
I've never forgotten that, and that's how I always pet dogs now.
Do you remember what he did?
No.
Okay.
I don't remember.
He walked out in the crowd.
No.
He walked out in the crowd, and because she said, like, because he said, how do you praise the dog right now? And she literally said, like, put her hand on the head and was like, good boy, and like a rubbed. And he walks out in the crowd and he literally goes by her head and rubs, and her hair's flipping up everywhere. He goes, do you like that? And she's like, not really. And he goes, neither does she. This lady's hair is all over the place. It was so funny.
Funny.
But that's definitely, yes. But you're right. I mean, the only way that they know how to think is as a dog.
Yes.
So you can humanize them all you want. They're never going to be a human, right? Okay, so let's transition this to the natural side of things. And so I specifically want to use let's not use names, just to protect the guilty,
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
But that I got it that time.
What?
Protect
The guilty. Like I've stumbled through
good
that. Like I
job.
can't, like just came out. Okay, so we have 2 dogs in right now that they came in and they've had 2 completely different experiences, and the owners were completely worried about the 2 opposite things. Okay, so the first one, I will give Whitney credit where credit is due, is from her.
Thank you.
This dog just went home, and this dog, when it was dropped off, the owner was nervous that it was going to be mouthy around birds, because he said, I travel a lot. The kids have been playing with this dang squeaky toy. They've been playing this tug of war. They've been doing all this stuff. Like, I'm just like, I'm nervous about this. Okay, great. That dog, there's something about this. Okay, now I'm not saying, I want to preface this. Okay, because everything I say gets taken so dang literally all the time. I'll get a hate message about it. It's just crazy. I should do an episode sometimes of just like, here, like, these are the hate messages I got.
You should.
Oh, it'd be hilarious. So anyway, so there's something about, again, let me preface, I'm not saying to intentionally do bad, get your dog into bad habits. I'm not saying that. I want to be very, very clear about that. I'm not saying play tug of war. I'm not saying use a squeaky toy. I'm not saying all these things. But what I am saying is that when we see dogs come in at 5 to 6 months old for bird and gun intro, we see what's natural in that dog. And I just don't believe there's been enough time at that point for these bad habits to like really be a major thing. And we see what's real on the bird.
Yep.
Okay, so this puppy, again, not using name, I can say her, not using her name. But this gentleman was nervous. This dog is a freaking rock star.
Yeah.
This dog never ruffled a feather on a bird, either a dead bird or a clipwing bird.
Yep.
Never was mouthy. Always came back, put her right in her hand. I mean, she was fantastic, right? And at pickup, he was like, oh my gosh, I'm so grateful because I was so nervous about that. We saw what was natural. Okay, now flip side. We have another dog in. Give Whitney credit where credit is due, is not from us. Okay. This dog will not only chomp, but will have guts hanging out of a bird and totally ripped apart. What, 3 seconds?
Yeah. If that.
Eviscerates it. Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
Oof.
I mean, it is the mouthiest, chompiest dog that we've had in for quite some time. Now, I vividly remember back, this is when I was training by myself, and I had Jake, my little brother, who was young at the time.
boy.
Yeah, he was helping. What, I mean, gosh, Jake probably would have been like,
7, do you think?
I think I was gonna say 8.
8?
Like
Because it was in
young.
the summer.
Yeah, young. And so he'd come spend summers with Whitney and I because we were at home, or at least I
We were the
was.
cool aunt and uncle.
Yeah, that's.
Didn't have
I was
kids.
you're
an
a
uncle. I'm a brother. Anyway, I remember there was one dog in particular that would try eating the birds. And I was like laying on this dog. Again, I won't use the dog's name because I know very well what dog this was. And I was holding on. I'm literally like almost like having him in a chokehold to try to hold it. And I'm like, Jake, grab it. And he's like, And you can see this bird like down the dog's throat. And like, it was crazy. So she's not that bad, but she's dang close to it.
She's pretty bad.
Okay. So I call, and this dog I shouldn't go into all the
No,
details.
no, that-
There's more to this story than just this, but I shouldn't go on all the details. But I had to call the owner and say, hey, here's the deal. You're going to be happy with, the work that we set out to do as far as loves birds, good with guns. You're not going to be happy with the dog. Just I can tell you that. So we should be going through the next phase. We really need to work with their mouth. We need to formalize that. We need to. And he was like, gosh, like I did these things to help with this. Like I didn't do the toys, and I didn't do and I'm like, again, man, this is genetics. Like that is what this is. This is who she is. This is lines. This is what her genetics are telling her to do. I don't think you did screw this up. I just think this is who she is. But we need to fix it. And I don't know if we're going to get the opportunity to or not. It's a long time. It's a financial commitment. I guess all those things, right? So it's just per person, can either do or not do it. But it is something that it's a bad deal. So where I'm going with that thing is you can do all the right things, but if you don't have the right student in the first place, you're likely not getting to where you want to go. And that is why it is so dang important to make sure you're getting the right dog. I mean, we have another one that just went home that was like, oh, well, you just found the dog on a Facebook post or something like that, and like you know it,
Yeah.
well, you know it.
I've been, I'm an outsider coming into this, pretty much. I mean, I had an old lab that I bought off of a forum.
Yeah.
Paid $300 for Chief, and he was not a bird dog. And I didn't know what I didn't know, though, right? I'll use that phrase again. And the general public, it's a lab. They all do the same things, right? Well, they're not robots. There's a lot that goes into it, and if you do your research properly, and but some people don't want to take the time to do that. No. They're just like, I just want a dog.
Yeah, and
then
even
I want them to go get birds.
And even when you do the research, it's so tough. Right, like the one trigger one to me is like when because anytime someone calls and wants training, especially I start talking about, okay, where'd you get the dog from? And anytime it's like, well, they said both parents were good hunters. I'm like, ugh.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that.
That's the hard one, because
what's good?
Define it for me, right? Also, I've gotten to a point that that too, when people are like, well, they've got, and everybody says the same thing, they've got the field trial titles. And I'm like, okay, well, what titles are we talking about? Well, let me see. Okay, so they're and they say that the acronym, right? It's like started hunter. I'm like, okay. Yeah, okay.
There's some poodles out there that have that too.
Yeah, I'm just but what I'm saying is from an uneducated, I know there's some people out there I know what I'd look for. I know that's great. But probably because you're on dog 2, 3, or 4, you've been through this before, you know what you're looking for. You're right. The average person does not.
No.
And it's so overwhelming because if you talk to 10 different dog people, you're going to get 10 different opinions. And that's all of this is an opinion-based deal. And so, it's a tough deal, but to me, it's amazing how it jumps out to you. What dog was well bred and what. So we have dogs that come in to us that are well bred. They're not from us, for training, right?
Totally.
That we're like, gosh, we love this dog,
Yeah.
So I'm not saying it has to be from us. But what I'm saying is there's a very, very big difference when you have a dog that's well bred and bred naturally versus one that is not. We see it immediately.
Yeah.
Well, and the nice part about, not to, inflate your guys' head anymore, but the nice part is most people that want a puppy, they come and, have a sire visit, or they have a visit, or they see videos. They know what your dog is, rather than, the Facebook post with some puppies and you've never even seen what dad can do or mom can do.
Yeah.
So, that's the nice part about you understand where that breeding comes from and what they are already. So,
I do think it is easier from my side, from the breeding side, to educate people on what to look for. What do you want? How do I give you? I love when people say, well, what is so great about why a Riverstone pup? I love explaining to them just who we are. Right. Because everything that I say, they're like, oh my gosh, I had no idea you could do that, or I had no idea you can do all that genetic testing, or what your health guarantee is, or you can also tell just by the way that people talk how genuine and authentic they actually are to their own brand, which I love.
Yeah, for sure.
Completely agree.
So I want to bring something else up because this is maybe a little bit of a humility moment, for me, but I think it's actually really interesting to talk about. So probably quite a few episodes ago now, I think, I did I talked about how I took Strike up to Canada, right? And took him on the plane and flew him up there with me. I received what I'm going to call, not like a angry, but like I'm going to say a very strong worded, email, from a lady named Kelly. And I had a great conversation with her. And so when she sent that, if you send me an email and you're just being a jerk, like I'm literally laughing. One, because I'm like, I can't believe. Well, one, you're listening to it, right? So that's your choice. And two, you're literally spending time out of your day to send me a nasty email. Okay, but if you want to send me something respectful, like I'm all for it, right? And so I responded, back, to Kelly. And so we had a phone call. And I love, Kelly and I talked about this, and Kelly, if you're listening, I'm sorry I haven't got the time to do that. It's just been crazy since we got back from Texas. But I would love to get her on here as a guest to talk about the service dog stuff. So what her email really was that basically what she was scared that I was going to encourage people to basically falsely get their dog service certified and then, have them be certified, bring them on planes, stuff like that. And so the conversation, I loved the conversation with her. Like it was really cool to kind of get her perspective. So one, just to toot my own horn a little bit, after talking, Kelly's like, "Oh, like you did it right. Like you used the wrong verbiage in the podcast. So that's what triggered me. But like you did go through and do it right. So I felt really good about that. But two, what I think was she is right. Like the getting your dog quote unquote service certified just to go take advantage of some stuff, it's going to make the whole thing go away. Right. And I noted that on the podcast that I recorded. Again, I didn't listen to it because I never do, but I do remember talking about it that, I have Strike and I'm looking at some of these other quote unquote service dogs and they're out of control. They're no business being that. But the problem is that to me, there needs to be a stricter regimen or something of a formal education, certificate, graduation, whatever you call it, that says this is truly a certified service dog or not. Right? Like they do a very, very poor job of it up to this point. So, Kelly, if you're listening, I do want to talk to you about this sometime. I don't know when that is going to be, but thank you because I really had a great conversation about that. I thought it was really cool to talk to someone else about that. So,
I hate to interrupt here, but I've got to run.
Sure,
I've got an appointment,
sure you do.
And I gotta.
Oh gosh.
I gotta get moving. So, I'm gonna jump off here. I'll let you guys finish, but thanks for having me.
Well, don't I have to be involved in this appointment too?
Yes.
So I guess we're done. I guess we're done.
Until next time.
Yeah. We'll do hopefully get one. If we get a snow day tomorrow, we should do another one.
Absolutely.
But we'll get this one out. Yeah. Hope everybody has a fantastic rest of your day and go be a strong leader today.
That's a good one.
Go be a strong leader to somebody. I think that's really good. And do the door holding test.
Yes.
I really think that will blow some people's minds as well. All right, guys. Have a great day. Talk to you soon.